brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
A very pleasant welcome to each and everyone as we invite you to be part of our talk today on this Thankful Tuesday. And good friends from NDC and RCIPS will join us. We want to share with you as we go into this wonderful festive season and each every day unfolds. We want you to be safe and certainly not just arrive alive, but do so in style and in a way that makes you be able to tell a tale and exaggerate if you want. Hey, sometimes truth is even stranger than fiction, but if you're not around, how can you share it with another? So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email talk today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard.
And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome back and thank you for joining us as we truly have the distinct pleasure of once again looking at the continued partnership to ensure that our people are not just safe but they're sensible and there's a little bit of sanity in our celebrations. So from the NDC, we won't call him the specialist, but you might confuse him for that show. But with due respect to Sergeant Perry, Mr. Simon Miller, to you first, sir. How are you today, sir?
I am blessed, sir. Thank you for having us as usual. It's that time of the year again, Sir Sterling.
Yes, sir. It is so crucial, I think, that for me, and I'll be mindful that it's a personal thing that I saw exhibited from a young child. For some reason, as December rolls in, it may be the Christmas breeze. It may be the expectation that in each community we had that particular person who was going to be butchering a cow specifically, and you get early to engage your Christmas beef. Words that we probably don't use anymore. And then you get closer to the time the festivities ramp up, or seafarers would come back home, and 22nd of December to probably the 4th, 5th, 7th of January, celebrations. And people were sometimes literally stumbling from house to house next door. Some were very serious and sincere in their, sort of endeavors, but it was festive. Now that we have a lot more, from the policing perspective, Sergeant Power, maybe help us to set the stage for today's discussion and the importance of it, because we want people to have fun, but man, wouldn't it be nice 50 years from now you can look back to this Christmas season and tell your great-grandchild, oh, I remember that and we did this, as opposed to, with the greatest of love and respect, sadly reflecting on something tragic that happened.
Absolutely. We've had already too many tragedies for the year, so we want to make sure that we end the year in a very, very high note, knowing that everyone got home safe. That being said, I don't think, based on the current temperature, that those, that view is falling into fruition. I literally just put out a press release that said that last week we had 94 collisions for the week. So, that's what we're dealing with right now.
I sort of, and Simon, to you specifically, in trying to balance all that we as individuals have on in our lives, from our work to family commitments to our civic and social engagements to, even our studies for our own edification or for that added education for, hopeful possible promotion and increase in remuneration. I went out consciously to seek some input from others and ask them what have they been experiencing this quarter. So financial years, we look at quarter reporting and statistical analysis, and and one individual say, "Oh, I knew you would do this." I say, "Oh, just tell me what you see. You don't need to give me statistics. Just tell me." Bad driving, aggressiveness, inconsiderateness, people ignoring stop signs, speeding through stop lights, racing through parking lots, seeing if one individual said we shouldn't call them speed bumps because that might tell people they got speed over them. We should probably call them, slow something, right? And it was said partly in jest, but showed me a video where this car was going through a particular parking lot with speed bumps. And I thought, well, why would you need speed bumps in a parking lot? And racing. You could hear the car, engines rev, and each speed bump. Now, I can't tell you the age or anything about the person, but I wondered, were they influenced by Dukes of Hazzard? Because they were like they were trying to launch. No, you might remember that Sergeant Prairie is probably Dukes of Hazzard.
I do know Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, you probably know it from some TikTok thing. I'm just kidding, Mom.
I'm flattered that you think I'm that young.
No, you see, I'm glad you said that because then Mr. Simon will go, is he saying that I'm old? Oh, but in that jest, I'm trying to think what is happening in our communities where we're seeing these behaviors that are, without even any thought, putting all and sunder at risk. Not just loss of license, not just added expense because you've damaged your car, but
I was just about to say, I wonder what his mechanic bill looks like or her.
But and honestly, I say that not just to guide a discussion, but to invite us as listening public to say, well, is that us? Are we so rushed? Are we so something has happened that we no longer are cognizant? Do we think, well, it's okay if I had this particular drink or whatever, and it's not going to bother me. But what more can we do to be conscious, to be considerate, to actually look at this and go, well, what if? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller.
But you put it into a great perspective, and these things are all avoidable. When you think about it, these are preventable things because this is a matter of choice. Whether somebody consume some substance or not. And they're giving Jody and her team over there these 90 plus accidents or collisions in a space of a week.
You're
right. What are we doing?
I'm glad that we have increasingly police vigilance and enforcement, but in saying that, I want to ask, I'm of the view that the 94 recorded isn't because of police inaction. These are things that just happen, and you, as a policing apparatus, have to now respond to. These are, I don't know.
Yeah. So there are 94 collisions that took place, right? And I don't I haven't used the word accident in a very long time because accident would then give the impression that it's nobody's fault. And really, if you made better decisions with your driving, if you weren't on your phone, if you weren't engaging in a conversation with somebody in the back seat and having to look, because, that's what people do sometimes, then you wouldn't have, and let us be very fair and frank, probably up to 70% of these collisions that happen, 70% of that 94 were very minor accidents. They were damage only. Some of them probably had very minor injuries, right? And that goes to show you that inattention is a very, very big issue. But that being said, this increase also came so, for instance, on average, prior to November, there was an increase in October of 73 per week, and that was an increase. So we find that as we go closer to the end of the year, the average previously and throughout the year before that was 66. And we got to October, it's 73. And we got to November, and it's now 94. So what is it going to be in December?
Can we? Okay, sorry.
And we're hoping that it reduces because we're talking.
Do we know the percentage of that number where the person involved either had no driver's license, whether expired or otherwise, or no insurance for the vehicle?
Obviously, we're getting towards the end of the year, so we're not very clear on the stats because that's something that is being looked at. But what I can say is that for a significant amount of those collisions that took place, collisions were recorded as the secondary offense to other things.
Okay.
So other things being DUI, other things being driving without insurance, driving without registration, driving without being licensed, driving whilst disqualified.
Okay.
So yeah.
So then
After the collision took place, the police would have then known these things also took place.
So if people like me, Sam, and others who like statistical analysis, at some point in the near future, once that data is collated, you would be able to see that of these accidents in this time frame, X number also had no license, no insurance, driving disqualified, and those sort of things.
Exactly.
And the reason why I wanted to ask that was the other perception that is generally becoming accepted in our community, that there are people who are consciously driving knowing that they don't have a license, or it's a disqualified one, or don't have one to begin with, or they had one that's disqualified. The car is not licensed or insured. And that brings me to maybe asking through you.
So I think one of the things that people sometimes very often don't understand. So you'll get behind the wheel of a vehicle that is insured, but your driver's license is expired. You don't realize that that car doesn't cover you as the driver for that vehicle because you are an expired driver.
Right.
Or, for instance, you have to be very careful with the insurance that you have, because if you meet in an accident or collision and you are DUI, does your insurance cover you?
Right.
Does it cover the accident, the collision itself? Because some insurance has a clause that if you're DUI, there's a decision, it's a conscious decision that you made, and we're not covering it because it's not an accident.
Right.
It's a collision.
And as we go into the break, perhaps we could return, speak to it, and again, it's come back to a consciousness on our part. Sergeant Purvis shared that the person is distracted, they're chatting, they're on the phone, they're doing whatever. But I wonder to what extent there's also a conscious decision. There's a stop sign, and we don't stop. There is a give way sign, and we say, well, that don't apply, I don't have to slow down to look. There is a red stop light, and people are overtaking the car that has stopped. I'm not asking.
Dwayne, do you know that roundabout right there by the airport fence? There is literally a sign there that says indicate your turn. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been in traffic in that line and nobody has on an indicator.
Including
There's
police
a
cars.
sign that tells you to do it.
Including police cars.
I don't deny.
No. Listen, and I'm not using that as, I'm saying that we, I'm including myself, right? We need to be more conscious, considerate, careful, and recognize that our behaviors are not only sending, literally, no pun intended, signals to other drivers, but signaling to the passengers in our car the behavior that is expected and has been accepted. So when we come after the break, I want you to chastise me as you also, help us to be better informed, and hopefully, prayerfully, when we go in, to our cars, whether it's during this commercial break that you get in your car, or whether it's next weekend when you get your new car, whatever it is, that you will be very, very safe and serious about how you operate this potential weapon. And if that's a harsh word, you let me know, right? And then you guys, please share with us as you wish. Sergeant Purvis together with Mr. Samuel Miller from the RCIPS and NDC respectively. Well, we'll continue the discussion when we come back. I invite you to call and participate if you wish. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
A $5,000 award is being offered for the return of a missing dog that goes by the name of Spiky Haggis. Spiky is white cream in color and is a Pomeranian mix. He is a small dog that has a distinctive scar above his left hip. Spiky went missing mid-November in the area of Selkirk Drive and Bimini Drive. Cayman Vets is asking that if you have seen Spiky, a white Pomeranian mixed dog, to take a picture and send it to 525-5838 or call 525-5838 with information that could lead to his return.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thank you for joining us together with, so honored to be able to say Sergeant Jody Purry.
Yes.
That's fitting. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yes.
And I know that through you and with you, we celebrate not just the humility, but expertise in which he shared his knowledge. Mr. Simon Miller, I really value you as a person, and
Thank you,
you share your team over there. Maybe as a community, we start to recognize the importance of information, timely, accurate, but also given to the public. And I think NDC has allowed us to see things that we are not willing yet to embrace relative to drug use and abuse. And maybe because we share similarly that alcohol is a drug. And when people say, oh, drugs and alcohol, I'm very apt to say no. There are many of us who don't drink for some reasons. There are many of us who, for whom, one drink is, too much, but 100 not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are others who are somewhat, in their minds, very responsible.
Mm-hmm.
That sip is too much for them to even sit behind the vehicle.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good, but we need to get better.
Yes. And that's the whole premise of what brings us around the table during this time of the year. You know, and we don't want it just to be about the holiday season. We want it to be every day of the year. We want people to be making that conscious, decision and being responsible.
Can I ask then, through only if you wish to share from a personal perspective, that's fine, but even from maybe a perception of what is the societal ethos, there are many people for whom, if they had this to drink, whether it's the type of drink or the amount, that's okay because it's not a problem. You know, my friends who are English will say, well, we're English, you know, we don't drink, we swim, right? And it's a joke. There are some people for whom they, maybe in their minds and maybe their cultures, it's okay to have a couple of glasses of wine or 4 pints of beer, or whatever it is, right? And they don't seem to be affected by it. And unfortunately, they may seem to be absolutely functional. There's no slurring, no slumbering, nothing. But if there's a blood alcohol test, they register. And how do we get people to understand that that sip might be that thing that is too much? I'm wondering.
And especially with the new BAC limit that we have now, you know, and that's what we want people. We want that to resonate with people, to say, well, if you're making that decision, that choice to go out, you know, just understand that one could possibly put you over, you know, and there's so much, a multitude of factors that goes along with that. But start to get into that practice where you say that, well, if I'm going to go out and have even a glass, let me make my plans ahead of time.
Right.
And let us start to make that become a part of our planning, and then therefore hopefully, you know, it'll translate where we see that that's the cultural practice in the Cayman Islands.
Sergeant, from that perspective, if it's okay to ask, and then Mr. Miller from the statistical, again anecdotal, do you think that in our society, maybe it's part of where we're from, but because we're here now, that there is a perception that I have a Guinness, for instance. I like Guinness, most people don't. Or a person will have a red glass of white or red wine or whatever. Not a lot. That because we've had only that one drink, and Mr. Miller, I want you to remind us that units versus drinks, that's okay. It's not going to make us drunk. That's okay. That's akin to maybe having a chocolate bar or something.
I can't tell you the amount of times officers would have either pulled up on a collision or would have done like a traffic stop and asked the driver, have you been drinking? And they've said, yes, I've had one. Or yes, I've had two. It's never more than two, ever. But then we say, okay, can you do this breathalyzer test for me? And you're more than twice the limit. So, you know, so whether or not that, you know, is an inconsistency in the amount that you give, or if it is that based on whatever the body composition is that reacts with that alcohol that you've consumed, that is the level that you receive for that. But how do you measure that?
Right. And I know that you have shared this before. I want to make sure that I fully understand it, so I'll ask again as best. A person who is involved in a collision. I remember the very first time, way back when you said, I'm no longer use the word, and I call it collision. And the legal limit at that time was twice what it is now.
Not twice. So it was 0.1. It's now 0.07.
0.7, okay. That'll be round up.
30% more. Yeah.
And being more generous then, the person was nowhere near the legal limit, but because the person was involved in this collision, does that have any implications? They're within the legal limit. They're still registering a certain percentage. How and to what extent, if any, does that impact the person?
It will still form a factor in an investigation, and we do have an offense of being impaired. So you won't necessarily meet the DUI limit. But if it is found based on the investigation that whatever you've consumed, albeit below the legal limit, factored into the collision that took place, then you may be charged with being impaired.
Okay, I want to ask two things. Because I think many of us do not fully appreciate some of the terminology.
And being impaired doesn't just apply to alcohol. It can even apply to prescription drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
So we say DWI, we say DUI.
Yeah, driving under the influence.
Are those two things the same? Are they in law?
It's an interchangeable term that is used. So our Traffic Act says driving under the influence, thus we use DUI. But other jurisdictions might say driving whilst under the influence, and that's how you get DWI.
Okay. Or is it DWI, driving whilst impaired? You said so. We have an offense.
Well, yes, there is an offense, DWI.
So there is
what driving whilst impaired, but I don't think that we've ever used that acronym to describe.
So
DWI.
in our law, under traffic law, we have a DUI charge and a DWI charge.
Right.
So we have those
That would
two
be correct.
offenses.
Yes.
And the DUI is when you're actually under that influence of something that has intoxicated you.
And you've exceeded the legal limit.
Right. And the DWI, you're within the legal limit, but it impairs your...
Well, within the legal limit when you're dealing with alcohol. But but if, for instance, you would have taken a sleep aid, you know, you wouldn't have been tested for DUI, or even if you would have not given any kind of reading of DUI. But if blood were to be taken and a toxicology report was to be requested, then it would have shown that you at the time were impaired because you had taken a sleep aid and decided to operate a vehicle.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to belabor, but I think in asking people earlier, I've had two individuals who officers stopped them. It was just a normal stop. There was a pleasant exchange. The fellow said, yeah, I had, you know, and I didn't finish my first beer. He was being truthful. Asked if you would mind submitting. So yeah, no problem. I mean, I and sure enough, resulted in a charge. Loss of license is immediate, right?
Well,
or is that no more?
Not immediate. So he'll be warned for intended prosecution.
Okay.
He wouldn't be allowed or arrested. And if you're arrested, that means that you wouldn't be allowed to take the vehicle from there. And as an officer, I wouldn't have warned you for intended prosecution. I would have arrested you because I wouldn't trust you behind the wheel post that time.
And then when you go to court and you're sanctioned, you lose your license then.
Right.
Okay. Those are the consequences that I think that we understood. He gave me his analysis, right? And he said, wait a minute, it also affected my insurance. I believe him when he says he only took a couple of sips. He didn't even finish it. He went into the store that it was even a beer he doesn't even like. But, you know, friend celebrating, he thought he would say cheers. That led to a significant consequence. And back to Mr. Miller, to that thing that sometimes we're doing these things without fully appreciating the knock-on effects. Right? Now, he has subjected himself to, you know, time off work to go to court. The public sort of, geez, you know, I'm before the court for, you know, discharge.
And hopefully, for your sake, the job that you do isn't a job that requires you to drive. Because if you are DUI, you will lose your driver's license. You will. And the question only is for how long, because that is at the determination of the court.
And as we go into the break, how long can that be? It's a minimum of a year, I'm told.
Yeah.
But it can be
up to 5 years.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I know about the year, but I didn't know.
Many people apparently don't. I learned that some time ago. All right, we're gonna pause, and that's one of the reasons why I'm asking people to consider what is happening. He gave me permission to share his story. He didn't finish his beer. The officer was as pleasant as she could be. You know, he asked, and he thought, no problem, I'll take it, because geez. And he loses his license, loses his job. Anyway, that's not a Christmas present anybody wants. We're going to pause, and when we come back, share with us a bit more. Stay tuned.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments December 7th to the 14th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Wayne Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com. That's drporterkman@gmail.com. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020.
Water Authority Cayman would like to advise its valued customers of the following early closures at the Grand Cayman office on Friday, 6 December to facilitate a staff event. Cashiers will close at 11:30 a.m. and the office will close at 12:30 p.m. The authority apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciates the public's understanding.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And as we invite you to have a very festive and healthy and safe and wonderful, not just Christmas, but every day, honored from the NDC or National Drug Council, Mr. Simon Millen from RCIPS. Sergeant Julian Purry joins us. Mr. Miller, to you, maybe two immediate things. You talked about having a drink. I know through your public education awareness programs, a drink, and then there's this terminology, units. Now I know units in hundreds, units in tens, but what is a unit, and is a bear
well, from my educational perspective, I mean it's different cultures use different things, but from an educational perspective, we try to encourage people to come from the premise that a drink is a drink is a drink, whether it's your 4 ounces of wine, your regular beer, an ounce of some spirit of sort, consider it a drink. Don't try to justify it based on whether it's units or drinks.
Okay. Right. Yeah? And as we turn to Sergeant Purry, sometimes maybe we may have a glass of wine, but is it a 4 ounce, 6 ounce, or 8 ounce, or whatever size pour? A beer, is it a 16 ounce or 12 or whatever the measurement is? Is it that spirit, 1 finger or 2, whichever? But also, is it the alcohol content of that thing? And then, as you shared, your body that day, the stress, how much sleep you've had,
you'll never know.
You don't know.
Yeah, our message is never, pay attention to the DUI limit. It's always don't drink and drive.
Okay.
And that means that I just want to correct myself. The Traffic Act doesn't actually give a limit. So the limit is determined by the court. So potentially that's limitless. I think that the one that I have the most I've heard is 5 years. Yeah. But it's a period of less than 12 months. And I think what people don't understand also is that DUI carries a custodial sentence.
As well?
Yes.
Did you not have people, in addition to being suspended for the year minimum, you will or you can be?
You can be. It's determined by the court.
Okay.
So for a first offense, it's 6 months. And for a second offense or multiple offenses, potentially, it's a period of 12 months. Custodial sentence.
No, custodial for some
in
people.
In addition to a fine, in addition to the disqualification.
For those who may not understand that terminology, custodial mean?
Prison sentence.
I mean, so we're not putting you in charge of anything. You could be put in place somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not going to get into whether that's harsh or not harsh enough, or whether a person can get off for run over somebody. I mean, not getting over that. But for driving
under the influence,
and you had
no other offenses
you can end
but
up
that.
in jail.
Yes. No other offenses but that.
Yeah. That should be, can I use the word sobering? Nice word, huh? No pun intended.
Very good word.
See what you did there.
Can you imagine what kind of student I was? But I want people to realize that we can have fun, but we need to be safe. And let's get the people with us home.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't be responsible for what other people will do, whether they'll drink and drive. But if each of us didn't do that, wouldn't it be a lot higher chances that nobody did it?
Yeah.
Arrive alive, they say, huh?
I want to say that we spend a lot of money to go out in the Cayman Islands because our cost of living is pretty high.
Well, it's not high in most places, but it's down high.
Yeah. And, you know, so you'll buy a ticket to go to an event that probably costs about $100. It costs half of that to get a taxi home.
Okay.
You know.
Let's do the math.
And plan that ahead, you know. Carpool with your friends since you want, you know, if you want to hire a car. You know, I wouldn't encourage anybody to go out drinking by themselves in any case. We have to look out for each other.
Yeah. And we have friends, and I have the other guy I talked to who's asked me to encourage. So Christmas parties are coming up, whether it's your office or your groupings, right? And they've agreed that the person who's not going with the group will go and collect the group and take them back. And they'll rotate amongst themselves. So this person works with company A, this person works with company B. They can have their function. This person will go, collect them, and drop them home.
And, you know, I know that Radio Cayman has a very high listening audience from corporate Cayman. So, you know, when you're having your Christmas parties, provide shuttle services for your staff, please. Let the onus be on them. You know, to take that opportunity and encourage them to do so. Because at the end of the day, the company is going to be, if nothing else, you know, inconvenienced by a staff who was arrested for DUI because of a festivity that you put on.
And you know, if it's a small company by chance, I'm sure that the staff wouldn't mind all chipping in a couple of dollars to make sure they have that chauffeured ride home. You know? So that's a responsible thing.
I don't like to drive, period. So if somebody is saying, "Do you want me to pick you up?" Yes, yes I do. Yes.
And we need to get to that space in our society where this is the norm.
Yes.
We do not do that. There's one of your predecessors as commissioner had tried to meet, I forgot his name, who had tried to, you know, long ago, make that a norm. And I think he understood how it was in his homeland and how it was here, where people they were okay, you know, they thought, well, just had a couple of whatever, right? But he wanted it to be where you didn't have any. And then if everybody did that, it doesn't mean you're not going to have fun, but your fun doesn't have to result in loss of life, you know? All right, as we close out the discussion, certainly we're looking forward to more of these education. Respectfully, Mr. Melo, I'll give you the last word if you want, if Sergeant Poirier wishes to remind us first.
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone to please slow down on our roads and do not drink and drive. Over the next month or so, we'll obviously be partnering with Arrival Live 345 to ensure that the message is sent broadly across the island to get home safe during the festive season, but also pay attention to our social media pages, especially on Instagram, because we'll have weekly messaging, safety messages, both road safety and in our communities and business communities.
Mr. Simon?
Yeah, and you know, as usual, we will You can actually find a link to all of the maps and the routes for the buses that comes up to closer to New Year's Eve. You can go to the RCIPS, Compass Media, National Drug Council. We have some exciting things to bring forward to the listening audience out there. We have limousine services that we're going to offer this holiday season. Come down to on New Year's Eve. We partner with Cayman Limousine. So exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting stuff. But like I said, when we get closer to the New Year's Eve, we'll jump in and talk about routes and all of that. But we just want to encourage people, as Jody Ann was saying, you're out, you're planning your Christmas parties. Make sure you involve some sort of safe ride home for your staff. And people start to slow down, start to do the responsible thing. I think that was the whole premise of the show today.
Yeah. It's on us.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And it's not an impossible ask.
No.
It's not difficult.
Yeah. I would love to see that 94 reduced significantly, if not to nothing.
Yeah.
Well, it's too late for nothing, but.
Well, we're day 3. Today the 3rd of December. Let's start now.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
It's not that we're naive. This is an easy feat. You're not asking me to grow hair, right? We can easily do this. You see, this is how it is, man. All right, it's on us. Thank you, and to the RCIPS, Sergeant Perry, and I hope that the public would come on board, and Mr. Miller, to you and your colleagues over at NDC. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
Always. We're going to pause and take a break. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I want us to be safe and sensible about it. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Javi Ebanks. You're invited to a local author expo and book sale on Saturday at the Georgetown Library from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be book signings, live readings, a children's area, games, refreshments, and a raffle. For more information, head over to radiocayman.gov.ky. In regional news, St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has urged greater unity among Caribbean nations to address global challenges during the Dame Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture. He emphasized the need for a united Caribbean to tackle issues like climate change and the ongoing war in Ukraine. Gonsalves has sent a letter to world leaders, including Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Joe Biden, pleading for peace. He stressed the importance of solidarity on critical issues, even amid political disagreements. Defending diplomatic relations with Taiwan, Gonsalves rejected claims of Chinese recolonization in the Caribbean and affirmed his commitment to maintaining ties with Taiwan. He urged regional cooperation, stating that domestic challenges require collaborative efforts across the Caribbean. Guyana's Foreign Affairs Minister Hugh Todd met with Suriname's Ambassador Lizelle Blankendal after Suriname protested Guyana's plans to develop the disputed Tigray area. President Ifran Ali announced plans to harden the airstrip at Camp Jaguar. Suriname's Foreign Affairs Minister Albert Ramdeen issued a protest note, citing the presence of Guyanese in the New River Triangle as a violation of a 1970 agreement. Todd emphasized Guyana's policy for providing social services to remote communities and discussed advancing bilateral cooperation through the Strategic Dialogue Cooperation Platform. They planned the new SDCP meeting for February 2025. The Tigray area, or the New River Triangle, has been contested since 1969 with ongoing occupation by Guyana despite a withdrawal agreement. That is your latest headlines. I'm Javi Ebanks.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
The coconut industry on the Sister Islands boomed between 1890 to 1915, with annual exports exceeding 1 million per year. In 1906, the industry peaked, with the Sister Islands accounting for the entire export of the Cayman Islands. A coconut disease had previously killed off all of the trees in Grand Cayman. The industry was so successful that the government of the day went as far as to impose a special export duty. However, on Friday the 13th, 1915, a hurricane of unprecedented severity devastated the island of Cayman Brac, rendering most homeless and decimated 98% of the coconut trees on the Brac and 40% of those on Little Cayman. To add insult to injury, the coconut disease that struck Grand Cayman would soon arrive in the Sister Islands. During the 1920s and 1930s, efforts were made to revive the coconut industry, but the efforts were modest and the industry failed to reach its previous level of prosperity.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land. Explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. And for the next, 22 minutes and change as we go into the 1:30 timeline, we have the honor to be able to welcome the chair for the National Council for People with Disabilities, Dr. Annika Stevenson, and I think she'll say that the wonderful company, sort of Ms. Kimberly Woden. Thank you both for sharing with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And I'm hoping that as a people, as we talk and we use words, whether it's sustainable or inclusion, or whether it's about being, back to the political sort of cycle, openness, accountability, and transparency, and good governance, whatever those words are, they're words that have import. They're not just becoming cliches. They're words that align with our ethos, and they cause our actions to actually bring about meaningful, positive, impactful change. And in a community like ours, again, Ms. Kim, perhaps, through you and certainly with Dr. Anna as chair, we're seeing a community that are looking at people and say, well, that's a person. And that person might just need a little extra assistance. That person may need a lot, but it's a person. And so we bring them to the table with love, and with attention and consciousness, and help them. Maslow talk about, be all you can be, in a sense, in that hierarchy of needs and self-actualization, but we've all aspire. I mean, I'm still in search of the best dark chocolate ever, but that's simple on the scale. We all have needs, desires, wants, and aspirations, and so inclusion. And well, maybe Dr. Annette, through you,
yes.
What is it, the council? What is like being on the council? What is the purpose of the council? What is the chairmanship like? Just share with us.
The chairmanship like? Well, so the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, for those that are not familiar with it, it was established in 2016 with the formation of the Solomon Webster Disability Act, right? And the purpose of the council is, our job is to act as watchdogs for accessibility and to advocate for persons with disability.
Yeah.
Now, as Kim can attest to numerous times, I am like, why am I the chairperson? I just applied to be on the council because I wanted to serve and to provide some guidance on making places more accessible for persons with disability, with the other hat that I wear, as many people know my other hat. And for some reason, they decided to put me as the chairperson.
It's a vote of confidence.
As you can hear from the eloquence of our chairwoman, she's a perfect person to put in that role. So we're grateful for her leadership and grateful for her.
I've been chairperson for July would have been a year, so just over a year. And it has been very interesting. It's been interesting to see how the society and the community respond to people with disabilities. The level of acceptance or lack of acceptance for persons with disabilities, and that we have a lot to do. We have a lot to fight. It's a long fight to get it to become inclusive, 100% inclusive.
What's interesting, I go back to this each time because I think history can teach us a lot. I think also we don't recognize that in the Cayman context, there are things that are uniquely Caymanian that we can speak to, and with great respect, but no apology. We allow stupidness from other places and ignorant people guiding us, doing things that we follow and go, hey, you got hair you can feel? Your grandmother told you that. Why I say that, when the U.S. was introducing their Americans with Disabilities Act in the 90s, they had to go through significant changes in terms of accommodation to physical access building. There was education, and there were things that were taken for granted. And this is a large nation that has significant, even with the buffoons at the helm across the space and globally, right? Because we got to stop following idiots down paths that lead us to nowhere. Those are deliberately conscious statements to get people to stop and question and act and do things, right? They did a great job over a period of time of introducing legislation at great cost. But look at the benefits. Here we are, we can learn from that, and we can do great things. And yet in the Cayman space, we don't champion what we have. We don't see the work that we need. So I commend you and the others, not just in the council, but for the accommodations. Now, very deliberate and conscious, I use the words by choice. I don't speak at the school often. I left, I went across, said a quick little prayer, washed my hands, came back. Are you going to have the courage to say those words? Because we need to call a spade a spade. And we just can't build a sidewalk and drop it off on a 45-degree angle and expect that's accessible. We can't build a building and have a parking thing, but you can't get into the building. But we also need to say, wait a minute, that is that, this is this, and this is what has to happen. Because the football player who had a bad tackle and is now, thankfully, going to recover, but for the next couple of weeks, going to be a little bit challenged to move into space. That's a short term, but that person who has had an accident that is life changing, or born with something, that's forever.
I think you speak a lot of wisdom. I think there's a real importance to for everybody to really understand and reflect on the fact that disability is a part of the human condition and can be a part of our life from birth, before birth, or it can hit us, or ones that we love at any point in time. So accessibility and design, and good design, actually, that is more universal in nature or adaptable in nature, is actually beneficial for all of us. We all are aging, and we all have, different
No, we're
stages
not.
in our okay.
Thank you.
I'm in a different category
No,
apparently.
no.
But as people age and populations age, and also as we go through different stages in life, like even a mother that's juggling a stroller, for example, requires a different level of thought when it comes to accessing the built environment. So it's wider than just, as you said, cuts and pavements, for example. I will give credit to our facilities management team at Government Building. They have recently installed a cut in the main counter in the front foyer, which has been wonderful, because now that means that the persons who are shorter or who are in a chair or use a mobility device that means that they are lower to the ground are able to access eye contact.
But thank you for sharing. This is when I shared that we don't even acknowledge the things that we've done, right? That is a perfect example for everybody. And I'm told in the design world it's about universal design, so that when you go in through a door, you can actually get through it.
Right.
When you're in a bathroom or other space, if you're a wheelchair, there's a little bit wider turning radius. Right?
Yeah.
Those are the things. But Dr. if I may ask, we hear, in the name of the council, the word disabilities. And for some of us, that may have a particular connotation. Is it okay to ask, well, what constitutes a disability?
Yeah.
I mean, is being Caymanian a disability?
Absolutely not.
What is a
It's a
disability? I like that. That's superpower.
Superpower. So before I get to that, I do want to touch on something, because we spent a couple minutes talking about those who are physically disabled, like accessing the counter.
Right.
But we also have the invisible disabilities, right? We have the individuals that have visual impairments, that have hearing impairments, and those that have mental health issues as well. And then there's other sensory disabilities. There's other conditions, like an individual with multiple sclerosis who you can't necessarily see. So there's neurological disabilities as well. But as a society, we are so hardwired to look at an individual and determine their disability
from what you can
or
see.
lack of from what you can see, right? As someone who was temporarily disabled due to a car accident, I've had individuals look at me, once on recovery, and they were like, "Are you really disabled?" Because I'm not in a wheelchair, because I'm using, I think I was in a cane at that point or something. But, for us to make assumptions by looking on someone that they look normal,
right?
But we don't know, they might have a visual impairment or a neurological issue.
Autism or ADHD.
Or there might be neurodivergent, right?
Yeah,
So, for me, it's hard to... I don't think disability can fit into one.
Yeah, hence my question,
box.
and I appreciate you asking and answering that, because sometimes we say we don't judge a book by the cover, whichever, but we look at someone and we can see physically because of the aid, wheelchair, otherwise that there is something. But there are many of us who consciously and unconsciously make a determination, right? And then when we can't see the thing, the person isn't seen that clearly that day because of something. And it looks, I'm not a physician and certainly not an ophthalmologist. I can't look at your eyes and tell you whether, you know.
There's a really neat campaign is not the word, but it's a program that Sunrise is actually bringing to Cayman called the Hidden Disabilities program. You'll see it when you're traveling abroad. Persons that are wearing lanyards that are green with yellow sunflowers on it. And that is actually a signal that you are a passenger or you're a traveler or a person that has a hidden disability that can range from, as Annette said, from it could be epilepsy, it could be migraines, it could be multiple sclerosis, it could be autism, it could be a wide arthritis in some cases if it's severe enough. And that signals to the persons that you may be traveling with or persons that are running an establishment that you're entering that you may have a need for an accommodation, and it invites that courageous conversation of how can I help you, how can I support you. I also wanted to say, as we're talking about what is a disability, there is a difference between impairments, disabilities, and handicaps, and it also is very much impacted by your socioeconomic status and the country that you live in or the geography that you live in, the access to services. So, let's take a person that has nearsightedness, so they can see near, but they can't see, let's say, street signs if they're driving. And that is a problem with the muscles in their eyes in terms of focusing, right? So that's the impairment. The impairment is the issue with the body's structure and function itself, the problem with the eye. The disability is that they can't see far ahead, right? The handicap might mean that they may not have the ability to develop independent transportation if it's so severe that they can't drive safely and get a driver's license. However, if they are of a socioeconomic status level that they can afford glasses, or if it's a corrective surgery, if they need LASIK surgery or whatever it is, or if they are able to live in a country that has those amenities and services available, then the handicap isn't there.
Right.
So you can also consider that certain simple changes in body structure and function that are not disabling for us here in the Western world or in an affluent country might be devastating and heavily impactful for those that are in poorer countries.
And I appreciate you emphasize and explain that to us. So a disability, an impairment, a handicap, they're distinct and different. They're not interchangeable. They're not synonymous.
Generally not, yeah.
Right? Yet in our local sort of everyday conversation, we say one and the same. And sort of why I was asking, like, what constitutes a disability? Because many times we don't appreciate what is happening around us, and why, with great respect to our listeners, but specifically to you, being present, I opted to use the inflammatory tone that I did at the beginning, because sometimes we need to be conscious, to reminded that even in our unconsciousness, we're doing things that...
There's unconscious bias that we all have, that we need to be mindful of and challenge ourselves all the time, definitely.
There's a wonderful friend, and it only became evident when he, as the husband, had the... What did he call his children? Not gaggle. And he had a couple of them. Those friends who know...
Couple sounds more than... No, a gaggle sounds like more than a couple.
Whatever the word he used, and we're so happy for them. They're just fantastic people. They got a nice little brood, I think it was the word he may have used. I don't. And one day he was out with all of them. Thankfully, he's the kind of father who says, no, I'm not babysitting. This isn't even data daycare. I'm over there. His hands are literally full with children and all this stuff. And he's trying to get through a space. Only to have his wife say later that when she was doing the same thing, everybody was willing to assist opening doors. But here he is. I mean, he only got two hands, thankfully. I don't know that would look weird otherwise. But very few people were, sorry, sir, let me get a door for you. Can I help with that package?
Right.
And that led to a nice conversation.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Very. So he said, share that. And I thought, but that would just be good.
Yeah, I mean, consideration is important across the board, gender aside, so...
He's not handicapped to have any of these things, but in that moment, had that door, A, been one of those automatic doors,
would have been helpful.
The rest of us that were passing by him offered up a little bit of help.
Yeah.
So society sometimes don't see. Now, he has shared that other spaces he's traveled, mostly Europe and particularly European countries, they would see this individual who needed help and would offer, wouldn't take the child, wouldn't take the packages, but would offer something.
Yeah.
And I thought, but that was the Cayman I thought we had.
Yeah.
Had.
Yeah, there's definitely I'm drawing a blank. Sensitivity. It's not sensitivity, but it's like compassion. That's the word. We do need to become a society of compassion when it comes to dealing with persons that.
And also of empathy.
Empathy
from the perspective of putting yourself in the position of somebody who might need a particular, let's say, the blue spots. That's a perennial issue for us, is campaigning to raise awareness in the general public of the importance of the blue parking spots, and the fact that if you do not need them, convenient though they may be, you do not park in them.
They're convenient for a reason.
Yeah.
And when you have...
Yeah.
Let me keep my language nice.
No, you
clean.
can follow mine, man.
I will let you. You can say the words. But when you have individuals who will park in the handicap spot because it's close to the store, they don't want to walk a little bit extra. It is an inconvenience to those who truly legitimately need it.
Exactly.
An individual who's mobility impaired and has a wheelchair or other type of mobile
mobility.
Mobility,
Yeah, definitely.
right? And so just to think, oh, I can just park there. Let me actually, we can play devil's advocate here and say, well, if you park a little bit further away, you get a little bit extra steps, and then you're doing yourself good because you're getting extra steps in, right? And you're working on your health.
Improve your cardiovascular health.
Exactly, improve your cardiovascular health. But as a council, one of our biggest things that we have been championing for is the blue spot, and to have the enforcement done, and the public awareness that you don't park in there if you don't have.
Yeah.
I want to read one of our messages, but to that point, I want us to even go further than that. Enforcement is important in many things, whether littering, whether it's legislation for the financial services or criminal thing that is still criminal. But I want us to have a culture, an ethos, a societal value that says you don't do this. There was a time when we said yes, ma'am, and no, sir, because it was actually respectful and accepted and expected, and it was reciprocated. We had a culture that would open doors without any sort of expectation or ulterior motive. I would like to believe that that culture is still there, where you don't park in this spot because you're not
do
authorized.
Unto others as you would have them do unto you. Definitely.
I'm finding that sometimes people need to be reminded, and sometimes language is important. So I know Dr. Annette is very.
Well, we're reminding you all now listening to the station right now. So if you see that blue spot with the handicap, with the wheelchair in the middle, don't park there unless you have a placard. Don't park there unless you have a license plate. Just don't park there. If your 2 feet can walk, you don't. Just be respectful and be courteous and be considerate and have manners like your parents raised you. And you don't park there.
Can I read this message? We're talking to Dr. Annette Stevenson, the chair for the National Council for People with Disabilities, and Ms. Kimberly Voden. Everybody loves and admires and respects you guys as stalwarts, right? So thanks for your advocacy. This listener writes, read it all. What about the people who have been injured or have a temporary disability? Case in point, a leg injury, preventing the individual to walk normally, but with the assist, of crutches. Maybe this could be another avenue to look at, even though the individual would only be disabled for 6 months. So I was scorned by a lady who did have a handicap badge, but chose to park next to the handicap, which was prior to my arrival. I made this point because I didn't have a handicap badge, but was only being dropped off and legitimately could not walk. How do we,
Well, I don't know what our law says, but I do know that in other jurisdictions where I was temporarily disabled, my doctor gave me the form and I was able to get a temporary.
You can get a temporary, temporary permit that you usually display somewhere, either on your dashboard or you hang it from your review mirror.
So I mean that's
so that might be something that people don't necessarily know that they can access.
Okay.
I also think that in addition to being courteous and not parking in the spots if you don't need to, we also as a people need to continue to be, like I said, empathetic, and to give people hopefully the benefit of the doubt,
so can I draw? Sorry, Dr.
And then there's, the message said that an individual was sort of like, I guess giving him the side eye, right? But at the same time, even a person that's disabled needs to also have compassion and empathy and understanding, right?
We don't know anybody else's experience, truly. Yeah.
Drawing from that message, I think we've seen at times where there's a vehicle that is obviously has the decal, the ability to park in the handicap spot, or we call it the blue spot, but chooses not to. And many of us at times would probably say, well, why is that? And draw inferences. I liken it to examples I've seen with people who, on that day, the person does not have the person for whom that vehicle or handicap thing has been applied for or granted, and
it
chooses
could be somebody
not
else,
to.
a family member or someone else driving that car.
With people looking at it and going, well, you are authorized and able to park in a handicapped space. There's one there. Why don't you? And we can't judge people's intent.
Correct.
It may have been that the space was occupied. It may be that they thought, well, I don't need it that way because I'm not a disabled person. The disabled person is not in the vehicle. How do we get to people to understand that, sometimes...
I think people just need to mind their own business sometimes.
I think
okay, for the record, sorry, Ms. Kim, I drew courage through Dr. Annette to be emboldened to speak as candidly and as insightful as I did earlier, because those who know you know that you're a strong advocate.
Yeah.
So
I tell it like it is. It's just my business.
I
Go
think
on.
yeah, no, I just think it's just important to remember that we don't know everybody else's experience, and so the important thing I think in life is to be as kind and as helpful to everybody as possible across the board. I know that's how I was raised, and I would hope that you could talk about the heritage of a Cayman and the way that we've been raised as a people, and I think that's let us draw on that heritage, you know. I also wanted to raise another initiative that the council has been heavily behind, and I know that we are 1 minute away from the end of our segment. If you don't have anybody else, we can go a little bit longer.
I would just check in that note for you. And
I don't mind. But I wanted to say that we are also proud to be behind the Moby Mat initiative, which makes the public beaches more accessible to all users. The beach is for everybody. It's one of the biggest blessings that we have. And I see you smiling because I know there's a lot that we could say in terms of beach access and the beach being there versus the beach not being there.
I gotta stay on this topic. You let us know that.
But where we do have our nice beaches still, it's for everybody to access. Again, and the Moby Mat is a tool that the council has been proud to help get in place.
Well, two things. We can extend, I'm sure that with or without the glasses, I can look at my calendar and know that what I had planned is in fact there. So if you want another few minutes or hour, we can do that.
We can have my schedule will only permit me a few more minutes.
Well, for the listening public, we were instructed, and we'll try to be respectful. The doctor on it had requested.
The other thing that we want to mention, that today is actually the International Day of Persons with a Disability, right? And it is it is done by the WHO and the UN, and it's just a day that has been designated to acknowledge individuals with disabilities. And the theme for this year's I don't have my glasses.
Well, you want to take a few extra minutes then when you come back, Doctor? Is your schedule?
Usually take a break?
We will take a break. Okay. Only if you, because I know you have, we have instructions to honor your timeline. So you got extra minutes?
Yeah.
We grant that to you.
I'll give you 10 more minutes.
No, she probably charges for it. As we go into the break, here's one of our listeners shares this. If the penalty was more severe, this could discourage violators. For instance, 500,000 or is that 50,000 and 30 days license suspension. Just a thought from that listener. All right, we're going to pause, take a break. We'll take up until 1:45.
Yeah.
With Dr. Annette and Ms. Kim when we return. So join us right after.
Wonderful. Perfect.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
A $5,000 award is being offered for the return of a missing dog that goes by the name of Spiky Haggis. Spiky is white cream in color and is a Pomeranian mix. He is a small dog that has a distinctive scar above his left hip. Spiky went missing mid-November in the area of Selkirk Drive and Bimini Drive. Cayman Vets is asking that if you have seen Spiky, a white Pomeranian mixed dog, to take a picture and send it to 525-5838 or call 525-5838 with information that could lead to his return.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
The holiday season is here, and St. Ignatius Catholic Church invites you to join them for their Christmas cheers and annual Christmas fundraiser prize draw on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 7:15 p.m. Come and share the Christmas spirit at the Christmas Cheers event with Carolyn, performances by dancers, a popular storyteller, the church choirs, talented vocalists, and musicians. Also, enjoy complimentary seasonal refreshments. Then at 8:15, the exciting grand prize drawing. First prize is an incredible $25,000 $1,000, plus lots of other prizes, including thousands of dollars in CI and U.S. cash. Tickets are just $25 and are available at the St. Ignatius Church office, Funky Tanks, Island Cleaners, and from church members. Look out for sellers at the supermarkets, Kamana Bay, and even the credit union. Remember, ticket holders don't have to be present to win. All proceeds support the St. Ignatius Facilities Development Fund, School Scholarship Fund, and Community Outreach. Join us for the season's joy and generosity. Saturday, December 14th at 7:15 p.m. at St. Ignatius on Walkers Road.
Start your day in the know. Don't miss a beat. Radio Cayman's 7 a.m. news keeps you informed every Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Dr. Annette Stevenson's chair of our council, people with disabilities, and recognizing that I think that level of public service and commitment, you're willing to flex your scale just a little bit to make sure that the messaging is emphasized, and to Ms. Kimberly Woden for being our partner. Where we are in our society, I think, is for many of us, we are at a very pivotal moment in our history, and what is our contribution? I think, as I heard Dr. Annette say at the beginning, you apply to be on the council because you want to give of your time, your talent, your treasure. If more of us were to do that, we could make a very meaningful, positive impact and start waiting for somebody to do something without recognizing that I am somebody. And here is where we can make a difference.
I have the unique, I guess, perspective of just a few that are left on the National Council of having been in the trenches from the very get-go.
Yeah.
So being there from day one when we were starting to develop the Solomon Webster Disabilities Law, and then the national policy for persons with disabilities, and all of the action plans. There's over 300 action plans that government has in there. And then now with the continued council, and you mentioned the purpose of the council, and one of the purposes is actually to hold government to account for enacting and carrying out all of the action plans that are in our national policy, which spans from when it was from its inception in, I think it was 2017, all the way to 2034. So I mean, from my department's perspective, one of those most important action plans is the development of a purpose-built center for Sunrise that takes care of our current population of clients that we serve, and also takes into account the large numbers that are coming through mainstream and also Lighthouse School educational systems. In the next 10 years, we have 120 children with special needs due from Lighthouse School alone to graduate, and the vast majority of those persons will need and benefit from Sunrise Center services. So definitely we want to continue. We are bound and determined to continue with a client-centered approach. The theme for this year's International Day for Persons with Disabilities, Annette is going to read it, but I'll speak then on application from a departmental perspective and a council perspective as well.
Right. So every year there is an International Day for Persons with Disabilities. It's the 3rd of December every year, right? And the theme for this year is amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. This theme recognizes the important role that persons with disabilities play in creating a more inclusive and sustainable world for all. It also emphasizes the importance of the participation of persons with disabilities in decision-making processes that affect their lives.
Can I then ask, the legislation and the policy or policies, 300 plus this year, does it apply public and private sector? Does it apply across the board?
Right.
I mean, or is it just...
Yeah, the legislation is across the board. The national policy is for government. And there are gaps, obviously, in our legislation that our government is aware of and is working to remedy. For example, the children's law covers safeguarding for children. What happens when those vulnerable people hit the age of 18, become a Sunrise client, and they're younger than age 65 when they become an older person? There's a large abyss that is not covered. So there's legislation and policy that needs development around protecting vulnerable persons in that adult range. So but yeah, the national disability policy is for government alone, and that's why I was mentioning all of the action plans.
And this is in understanding that, and trying to be very conscious. I mean, I remember the early days of what has become the Sunrise Adult Training Center that teaches college bunks versus young students, helping to prepare that site for what eventually will become. So for me, it's indicative. I think Scripture says, you know, how you treat your most vulnerable sort of determines where your society, and I want us to be a society that recognizing, we said that abyss. I like how you,
the abyss.
right? Want us to be that society that looks at all.
We don't want that abyss.
We don't want that. We want everybody to be, and sharing that, I was almost emboldened enough to do what I think Dr. Annette would share, but I'll sort of rephrase my words somewhat. But understanding what is happening, because some of the things apply to just the government. Some is expected to apply across the board. But when we have a person who's now over 18 but less than 65, what happens to them?
Exactly.
When we have a society that is looking at things and somehow consciously or unconsciously stigmatizing people,
Right.
we need to rethink where we are in our country and ask ourselves, you know, if it was me, what would
or a person that is my loved one,
or someone I care more about.
Exactly. Yeah, and 18 to 65 is the vast majority of your life for most people, right? So like, and it involves all of the milestones of you know, finishing up education, getting a job, making adult decisions, and so forth. So I think that the ability for us to help our clients to be visible and integrate as best as we can goes a long way to try to increase inclusion, and more than inclusion. And I've said this before, but in addition to just feeling like included, what I want for our clients, what we want as the Council for Persons with Special Needs and Disabilities, is for people to feel like they belong.
That's it.
Right?
It's the norm. You're not the exception.
Yeah.
I want to ask, and you can answer no if you're not able to and you want to make sure. And wonder to what extent we have this data. You referenced the number who will come through, the 110, whatever was you shared, right? I wonder to what extent do we know in our society what percentage of people will be?
We do not.
Well, I will say that
To
in the
some
2021 census,
Yes.
there was, I think, the first official effort to really try to delineate or to gather data on types and quantities of persons
But it's
with
not accurate.
disabilities.
It's
Correct.
It's not accurate.
It's like a lot of things in the society, and this is.
It's better than not asking, so that we have made progress.
So they've
but
asked, yes. So the questions are being asked, but people are either not being forthcoming and wanting to share for whatever reason, or the questions are not phrased properly.
Yes.
For the individual to answer with the information that is required.
I have a young man in my life who I love very much, and he's 14. He just turned 14. His name is Tom.
If people don't know who he is, tell him.
He's my son.
That's
and he is on the autism spectrum. He also has ADHD. He's also a wonderful student that attends the Lighthouse School. At our last census, it was a
He's amazing.
It was a comedic moment, but also a heartbreaking one in that I was asked questions relating to our family and presence of disability. I gave the answers that yes, I did have a son that was autistic, and got congratulated by the person who was the enumerator, saying, I must be so proud of him, to which I said, absolutely, I'm so proud of him. And she said, imagine having a young artist in your family. So even the understanding
You might need another help.
Autistic versus artistic. So and you know, I did clarify, but at the time I thought, well, you know, here you have somebody that thankfully I have the presence of mind to catch that mistake and make the distinction, but I don't know if that would have been necessarily done in other homes, you know. So
but here's the flip side of that, right?
Yeah.
When you correct someone sometimes, see, many times we listen to respond. We don't listen to understand, right? And when I say correct, because I'm told I need to correct people, and I'm like, no, you know, if you want to label in, you know, blissful ignorance, that's that, right? But I want to assist. I want, with humility and love and respect, genuinely contribute. I don't need anything in return for it. But if my society is that much better, safer, socially, economically, and politically stable, wow, I have a great place, I have wealth. I say that to then ask that as we look at where we are, this is why I really value Dr. Annette, because even though we don't interact daily, I draw from our conversations over the years, what you bring to the table, that forthrightness. For some reason, the courageousness isn't as evident in our society as it is in our women. Our women speak up. They stand in the gap. They always have. we need more of us to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So in recognizing that, we'll have another conversation another time and be respectful of your time. What is the ask? Individually, if you wish, from the council particularly,
Mm-hmm.
of governments, of parliamentarians, of wider civil society, of individuals. I mean, is there any, what is the ask?
Yeah, so for me, I think it is that we need to acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
that we have a society with persons with disability, that we have disabilities in our community and not brush it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to put in accommodations for these individuals and support for them, and look at how can we better serve them.
Mm-hmm.
Because by providing support, intervention, whatever you want to call it, at this point, can have financial savings long term.
Yeah.
I can only speak from my other role in life, as far as, hearing, as everybody knows, that if we don't acknowledge and treat hearing loss, untreated hearing loss can end up costing a country, the world, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So if we look at not being able to provide resources and support to individuals with disabilities across the board, what is that going to cost the country in the future
Mm-hmm.
by not taking care of it now?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
it.
Right?
I
Because, parliamentarians like to talk about money, so I'll start with the money.
Show me the money.
Picking up on that same
Yeah.
train of thought,
Mm.
I think the last time I looked at it, which would have been maybe 1 or 2 years ago, so it's probably been more than that now, especially with the building of many wonderful new educational facilities in Cayman. The average per annum spend on children with special needs in Cayman was something like 30-something thousand per child. So if you think of one child, so think of Tom, right, through the course of his school career now. So he would have started school just before 5, so 10 good years. So 10 years times that the country has invested in him. Take that through 18, right? That's a significant chunk of change invested in his development and future, and he's one person. So I want the country, I'm asking for the country, I'm begging for the country's continued support when it comes to supports for adults with disabilities, help Sunrise and help others like us to do our job, help our council to do our job. And we're grateful also, I will say, before I get in trouble, but in all honesty, I'm grateful for the excellent support that has been given over the years. And I am grateful also, and I'll say this with great faith, that there are many good things coming for us down the road. But I'd also ask for potential employers for our guys to be open-minded and to look with a good heart and a clear vision to see the pluses of employing persons with special needs and disabilities. Many of our guys have skills and talents that would blow most employers out of the water. Most of our clients are more faithful attendees at work, take fewer sick days, are harder workers, are more dedicated to what they do, are more joyful and more appreciative of the opportunity to contribute to society. So from an employment perspective, that is a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. And when you partner it with the services that Sunrise can supply, you have a winning recipe for inclusion in the workplace.
And if I can, the last thing I can say was with what you started with Dwayne is that we look at the individual as a human being, as a whole.
Yeah.
We all bleed the same red blood. We all, do the same thing. So it doesn't matter if I look different than you. It doesn't matter if I take a little bit longer to walk up the stairs than you. It doesn't matter if I need to ask you to repeat yourself. It doesn't matter if I need somebody to push me in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm a human being and I deserve the same respect, love, kindness, and compassion as somebody that looks normal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And family members of persons with disabilities also deserve our kindness and understanding.
Yes.
I know there was a study recently that talked about parents of neurodivergent children, saying that mothers in particular, when you sample the blood cortisol level of most mothers of a child with a disability, that quite often I don't know the right phlebotomy terminology, but like the levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, are basically equal to a soldier in combat or a person with PTSD. So when you talk about the cost to an economy, impact on mental health, impact on stress and coping
physical health.
and correct, and all of the other things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, and so forth. It's massively increased in families that are supporting a loved one with special needs. So definitely, it's a helping this particular population is helping society at large. And again, just pointing out that disability is not something that happens to another person. It can happen to any one of us at any point in time. So an inclusive society is one for all of us.
We do thank you for having us.
You are most welcome, and I respect everything you do, and hopefully be able to be meaningful.
Thank you for all your support over the years. We really appreciate it.
No, it's an honor. I see it as a privilege, and I have, on the individual space, have benefited immensely. It's created in me a recognition and awareness and empathy, a sense of humility. But it also has got me to where there's a growing courageousness to step into the space. But I'll say this, that with respect to that study, I, in understanding that, would even probably venture to say that should that study with the blood test be on the primary individual most closely connected, whether it's the mother, it will be the same thing. And in sharing this with you again for your guidance, if we can spend 36,000, what is it, close to 100,000 a prisoner now, and the other money that we spend on other spaces, is that money providing better dividends, more of an investment, if it can somehow be realigned and reassigned? Just a thought. And it comes back to policy. Ms. Kim, thank you so much. Dr. Annette, always a pleasure, ma'am. May I invite you, if I don't see you publicly, to have a blessed week and a very, very safe and enjoyable Christmas. And if you got extra cassava cake and custard cornbread, just indulge and enjoy.
We'll have to send over a little invite from Sunrise if when we're having our Christmas party. You're just steps away, so you can come.
There you go. We're going to pause and take a break. When we return, there'll be some open line, perhaps. You want to find out what happened? I know, but do you? Well, come back and find out. Stay tuned.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
This holiday season, give the gift of sport and style. Winter Circle Sports has everything you need. Quality brands and unbeatable prices on the latest gear. New Christmas stock just arrived. Score big with European Football League jerseys from Adidas, Nike, Air Max, and Dunks. Jordan shoes and clothing. Vans, Authentics, and old school styles. Graphic tees and Levi jeans. Plus, take the advantage of early bird Christmas special. Enjoy 10% off gift cards and make holiday shopping even easier. Find them at 12 Walkers Road, Georgetown. Winter Circle Sports, always a step ahead.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. Attention book lovers and history buffs, get ready for an evening with one of Cayman's most celebrated storytellers. Join Caymanian cultural historian, educator, and author J.A. Roy Bodden in association with Ian Randall Publishers for the launch of 2 new books, Trouble in the Streets and The Legend of Long Celia. Woman of blood and bone. Meet the author in person, grab a signed copy, and dive into the heart of Caymanian history and culture through Bodden's captivating, powerful storytelling. Saturday, December 7th at the Studio Theatre. The Harkwell Center comes alive, starting at 6 p.m.
The Chickens have built Cayman's first digital currency investment platform, Chickstarter. Powered by Massive Media, Chickstarter is a satirical business incubator raising money for local charities. Sign up for free now at chickstarter.ky and invest your 10,000 Chick coin in the special projects, each raising money for different local charities. 10 people will be randomly selected to receive a month's supply of local farm produce from farmer clearance as well. Full details and fun at chickstarter.ky. That's chickstarter.ky. Sign up and play for free today.
North Side, get ready to be pampered. At Genesis Unisex Beauty Salon and Barber, we're bringing style, color, and care to you. Right at Waterboys Plaza, Franksound Road, North Side, next to Caboose Restaurant. From cuts for men and boys to vibrant colors, braids, wig installations, locks and grooming, lash extensions, and more. Need a relaxing mani-pedi or custom acrylic nails? We've got you covered. Genesis Unisex is the only salon in Northside, and we're here to make you look and feel amazing. Book now at 323-9055. Find us on Facebook or Instagram, or email us at genesis77beautysalon@gmail.com. Special offers are happening now on pedicure, tip, and acrylic, relaxing, and more. So don't miss out. Genesis Unisex Beauty Salon and Barber, where North Side goes for beauty.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us in this some open line as we invite you to share your thoughts with us as I look at the messages. Again, thank you very much to our last guest, Dr. Annette, together with Ms. Kim Levoden, to talking about our Council for People with Disabilities and recognizing that there should be an inculcated ethos across the society where we look at people and see them as that, people, whether it's a temporary disability because of something, maybe it was surgery, and they just have recovery as they go through physio. A fantastic team at HSA will get them able on their way. Or maybe an injury that now has resulted in that, and maybe as Ms. Kim shared, from birth. And the disability may be evident because of the wheelchair or the assisted walking apparatus, or it may not be so, clear, identifiable. And then prior, we had Sergeant Power together with Mr. Simon Miller from NDC sharing with us about the importance of, being seen, sensible and safe and sober as we navigate our streets. And that includes whether we're riding something motorized or otherwise, or whether we're walking. Well, let's have some open line if you want. 949-8037, 949-6990. You can use the toll-free line, see if it works for you at 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp, call, message, voice note. Hey, however you want to use the WhatsApp. If you want to get it through to us, 925-3261, and share with us. It was a beautiful, Christmas breeze blowing this early, and as the sun went down yesterday, likewise. So we're prayerful for that, but we're also cognizant for those for whom, they're working on the seas, as going up here and, going on a trip, well, it can be not as pleasant, but nonetheless, they're appreciative of what the weather brings. So we can talk about anything that you wish. We can engage, hopefully, not just proactively, consciously, productively, positively. But it does not mean that we are neglectful of the other things that we don't necessarily like and see happening in and around us and within our communities. And I think sometimes we are of the view that if we ignore something, it will go over. Just go away. Our physicians and the respective service clubs that champion health and wellness will tell you, early detection saves lives. do ignore. Mr. Roy Borden has very publicly and frequently reminded us, don't ignore that niggling feeling when it comes to your health. So like anything, if we don't acknowledge it, we can't address it. And there's much that perhaps has reared its head, would you allow me to say, its ugly head in recent times that we are perhaps looking at and dismissing and saying it's a one-off, or it's no worse than elsewhere, it's not as bad as. Well, it shouldn't be, and if we don't address it, it will be, sadly, that thing that we've come to accept. And if it's not a good thing, then why are we, when we see it now, what is it that our parents and grandparents used to tell us? Nip it in the bud. Just like Sergeant Power and Mr. Miller reminded us that there are many people for whom they just had a sip, they just had one drink, whatever that is. Well, what if it's the cultural ethos, the societal norm, that we don't operate any vehicle, whether it was after prescription medication, a sleep aid, as Sergeant Power shared, or that one drink, as Mr. Miller indicated. We don't get behind the wheel of any vehicle after having something that potentially could either cause us to be charged with driving under the influence or driving whilst impaired, even though we're not legally intoxicated, or in our minds we're not. Alright, we have the 2 p.m. headline news to take. We'll pause and take a break, go to our news, or when we return, we're going to invite you to call and ask. It doesn't matter what you want to share, as long as you feel that you have the opportunity to do so. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Information, entertainment, inspiration.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac.
Since 1976 till now.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Javi Ebanks. You're invited to a local author expo and book sale on Saturday at the Georgetown Library from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be book signings, live readings, a children's area, games, refreshments, and a raffle. For more information, head over to radiocayman.gov.ky. In regional news, St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has urged greater unity among Caribbean nations to address global challenges during the Dame Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture. He emphasized the need for a united Caribbean to tackle issues like climate change and the ongoing war in Ukraine. Gonsalves has sent a letter to world leaders, including Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Joe Biden, pleading for peace. He stressed the importance of solidarity on critical issues, even amid political disagreements. Defending diplomatic relations with Taiwan, Gonsalves rejected claims of Chinese recolonization in the Caribbean and affirmed his commitment to maintaining ties with Taiwan. He urged regional cooperation, stating that domestic challenges require collaborative efforts across the Caribbean. Guyana's Foreign Affairs Minister Hugh Todd met with Suriname's Ambassador Lizelle Blankendal after Suriname protested Guyana's plans to develop the disputed Tigray area. President Ifran Ali announced plans to harden the airstrip at Camp Jaguar. Suriname's Foreign Affairs Minister Albert Ramdeen issued a protest note, citing the presence of Guyanese in the New River Triangle as a violation of a 1970 agreement. Todd emphasized Guyana's policy for providing social services to remote communities and discussed advancing bilateral cooperation through the Strategic Dialogue Cooperation Platform. They planned the new SDCP meeting for February 2025. The Tigray area, or the New River Triangle, has been contested since 1969 with ongoing occupation by Guyana despite a withdrawal agreement. That is your latest headlines. I'm Javi Ebanks.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thank you for joining us. So grateful to Miss Susan for able doing what she does, managing all of the things. I don't know if that study was correct when they said that most people can't multitask. I think she does it well. Her biggest task is probably trying to keep me in check, but that's on me, not on her. She jokes and says, I got time to switch to you. I won't tell you what my response is, but you can guess. In 949-8037, 949-6990. You can WhatsApp call 925-32621. It is said, to whom much is given, much is required, and how we repeat that and recognize, perhaps more important, how we internalize and apply it to our own lives. But what is important at the end of the day is that we recognize that if we all endeavor deliberately, consciously to make a purposeful, contribution to our communities, it will be, so much better. And as our first segment, talking about the importance of not driving whilst impaired or under the influence, if it's a personal practice of each individual not to get into a vehicle as a driver after having had something to drink or consumed in some way that would or could potentially impair your ability, whether you think it did or doesn't matter, because on that day you may have been more stressed, may not have eaten or slept or whatever, and that little sip could be the sip that causes you to be somehow less and then stellar at the helm. So please let us make it a cultural ethos. For some of us, we can't hear, we can feel, and then we live with an eternity of regret. Alright, the phone lines are open. Who's going to be the next caller? Should we give him a prize, Miss Susan? Well, I don't know. She said, yeah, we can. It's Christmas. People like to get things. Well, immediate prize is that you would have a chance to say what's on your mind. I will share with you, and I will wait until I get it in my hand. Our wonderful friends at Reflections have a Susan caught it. There you go. No, it wasn't a Freudian slip. They say a little bit of laughter is good medicine. They advertise with us. They have a fantastic account rep here at Radio Cayman, and as they advertise and as they expand their brand and the like, they'll give us some gift certificates and the like as their marketing team decide, and we will share with you. We want to say thanks to our loyal listeners. We want to add a little levity to your day. They say laughter is good medicine. We may even try to play a game of trivia. I had a couple of people who were asking as the Christmas draws closer and closer, that we come in and spread the Christmas joy, the festivities, have a little bit of laughter and banter, because it has been a difficult year, and the last few years in particular for many of us personally, because of the things we've endured and experienced for what we are going through, but also for those around us for whom we care even more about, and not globally or regionally, but right within our small little space. It doesn't mean that many still don't try their very best to get up and go and keep going and be as positive as they can be, that they're not feeling something, or we don't know what others are experiencing. We don't know the pain and aggravation and the frustration and what's it called? What's that word, Miss Susan? The suffocation? Not suffrage, but that whole level of thing that some people are feeling, and despite that, they move forward as best as they can, and he who knows it, feels it, knows it. And I'm on a personal level mindful that there but the grace of God go I. And there are times when we expect things to be one way and they're not. There are times when we think, we're deserving of this, and we should ask ourselves, well, why do you think that we're so much better to hardship and trials and tribulations and challenges and aggravation and frustration and all those things won't befall us. But it's with grace and honor and humility, sense of love, respect, and compassion and empathy that we sort of move on. Pastor Al of blessed memory used to say, there's something that you can't embrace, but know that you're strong enough. You've been imbued, with that will allows you to be able to endure it. You're not asked nor expected to embrace that thing, but you have the strength, the character, the resilience, and the resolve to be able to endure it. And that country song, you're going through hell, but just realize that you're going through. You're not stopping to party. You're going through it, and that's how it is. 949-8037, 949-6990. You can WhatsApp call 925-32621. You can use the toll-free line if you so choose, 925-32621. And as you get ready to order your Christmas beef, or if you're like some who've no longer eating, meat, or maybe like a few of us who it's only Christmas and New Year's that we partake of that good Cayman Christmas beef. You get it early, you season it well, and for a long time, and then when you put it on low and slow, you'll enjoy it. Embrace who you are with everything, in moderation and with sensitivity and sensibility you do, so that you are not only ensuring your customs and your culture is preserved and promoted and protected, but is also shared, embraced, loved, honored, treasured, and passed on. And you're not being replaced, decimated, or somehow, rejected and maligned and, shared to the margins as they were. Now, I had a fantastic meeting very early with the little Christmas breeze and the seas being what they were. Some individuals sharing their perspective relative to what is happening in our country, and on their behalf, I wanted to sort of put it together to ask. When we're looking at the tourism product, a number of individuals looking at the craft market and seeing everybody who's there, the customers and the tourists and everybody, and asking, is there more that can be done to enhance it without necessarily an increase burdens to the country, financial otherwise? To what extent is our tourism product not just being promoted and protected, but actually being presented in such a way that reflects as positive a thing? And for some, is that space the best space? Is it a space that can be better and more respectful to all who go there, from those who sell to those who purchase? Does it present well? And by extension, many have said, well, our tourism product from our beaches, there is the environmental impact that may or may not be given sufficient and urgent attention to the considerations that should, as some have publicly and calling into the program have shared. Do we need to remove many of the structures? What does that mean? What does that look like? What is the cost and consequence of doing it or not doing it? And as one fellow shared, are we in a space where we are willing to have these conversations? To his view, this is an opportune time, because we're going to be going to the polls, God's willing, on April the 30th, not that long from now. Maybe politicians, incumbent who were there prior, who are hoping to get there, may be encouraged to voice an opinion. Is it lip service? Is it just a promise in order to get something? Or is it a meaningful, genuine commitment and comment? Now, with that, as he shared, do we need to have these conversations relative to what we're doing, so that whatever is done is, for the country's long-term interest? But some of those things, as he shared, is important to be addressed now to mitigate the potential impact of any delayed action. And with everything, his view is that we are all, as he understood, as a young person in primary school. I remember, I think as he said it, perhaps it was something that we heard in our primary school classes. We're all tourism ambassadors, whatever the terminology was at that time. So whether we are directly involved because we work in the sector, in the hotels and condos and restaurants and the, water sports and the transport sector, but the tellers in the bank, our other staff members, to those in financial services, whether your client is coming down for a meeting and while there brings members of the family or stays on for a bit, they're all one and the same in terms of how the country is perceived in terms of friendliness and accommodation, and accessibility, and welcome and warmth and hospitality. Many of us would say that if we went out to a meal, whether that's at someone's private residence or at some noted restaurant, if we didn't like the service and the welcome, would we return? If we went there and the food was okay, it wasn't bad, had better, had worse, but the service was great, the company was exceptional, you probably return again. But if the food was the best, but the rest of the ingredients were not, you may not be as inclined to go back. Maybe you might take out if that's available, but you wouldn't go sit and spend hours and enjoy the place. So it's that welcome, that hospitality. And it's probably the same with the country. From the way the flight or the accommodations or the transportation are booked, to the check-in, however that's done in the airport, to being welcome on board the flight, to the flight itself, to the landing, to everything that transpires until the person then gets back on the return flight, assuming it's, the mode of transport is an aircraft. All of that plays a role in the experience. You, the traveler, the individual, whether with someone else or with a group or with your handful of friends or family, you want that wonderful experience. Let's extend it to all. And if you are working in the sector, and I won't ask Susan's permission, but I'll ask you not to hold it against her, I'll use this phrase: if you're a hog on two legs when you treat people, would you want to be treated that way? Are you not treating people with love and respect? And the reason why I said that is that, I'm going to be responsible for my words, but I think it's time that we stop and realize that there are many people in our spaces who, at the end of the day, do not, fully appreciate, or perhaps they are very conscious of their lacking character, the way they speak to people, And one of the things that was introduced to me a long time ago is that many people they're like hogs on two legs. Now, that doesn't resonate with you because you don't know the translation, but ask somebody. It's a person who has a little or no respect, decency, humanity, a sense of love and concern, and expect to get something for nothing, and then treat you in a way, and then you want you to leave a tip, or believe that your experience, now knowing it will be soured by your sour attitude, you still treat that person? Well, that person needs to be retooled, retrained, or removed. And that may be increasingly happening elsewhere. Should we allow it to happen here? Now, if that inflames you, that's good, because you recognize and that's not what you want and what you are about and what reflects on you. But it is what is happening increasingly. And if that's deliberate or conscious because people are frustrated, aggravated, or just malicious and otherwise, well, that won't take long before we go from this wonderful, safe, welcoming place to where it's just another, well, you decide what you want to fill in the blank. Let's pause and take that break. Share your thoughts with me if you are so courageous to do so. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey report is now online. Interested in learning more about risk factors for non-communicable diseases in Cayman? How about gaining an understanding of the overall health of the nation? Whether you're into hard data or fun infographics, this report is for you. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And the clock on the wall says 2:20. Well, we've got less than 10 minutes if we are going to honor our time commitment. And we invite you to be a part of the conversation if you so choose. 949-8037, 949-6990. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Let's give you the WhatsApp number as well. 925-32621. Now, I'm respectful and cognizant that, like many of us, if I was in the same place, I would do likewise. A wonderful day like today, you're probably as busy at play as well as trying to get all the things you want done, before Christmas, as it were. It wasn't that long ago when, as sort of December rolled in, we were busy doing the things that no longer seem to be that important. But some people still do. They want their houses ready for Christmas. That fresh coat of paint on the walls, as the Anna Martin song reminds us. We know we longer have that practice, and probably if we did, very few can even do it anymore. There are a couple of buckets of fresh, clean, white sand to spread around the place. I say that to share that there was a fantastic family member, cousin who shared that, when we look at the beaches sometimes, not just that they're been allowed to fall into disrepair in terms of inaccessibility of the paths and the access, but even the beaches themselves are no longer there. But the sand sometimes doesn't seem to look as it used to. And she questioned when we were, and if we were to bring in sand, well, that would no longer be our sand. Is it needed? Is it necessary? Is it sufficient? Public discussion and education about the whole thing, not just the cost of it, not just the financial money, that we're going to spend to get it, but to maintain it. What, if any, will be the environmental impact of so doing? Well, like many of us, there are questions, but perhaps they're not sufficiently, asked. They're not demands that they're answered, and when the answers are given, the answers are not only understood, but they're actually credible. Well, here's the time to do so. As I say, too many times people don't necessarily know what to say or do. They just know that what is being said or done isn't right or right for that time and space. So, 949-8037, 949-6990. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp call if you want, 925-32621, and share your thoughts with us. Again, the important thing is that we don't take for granted where we are. We don't abdicate our responsibilities to make a meaningful contribution. Don't ignore that the things that we enjoy can, be easily, sort of destroyed if we don't do what we are called to do in the way and in the time that it should be done. We are where we are because of the wonderful investment. We say service and sacrifice, and that's probably true, but also appreciate that they consciously, our parents and their parents' parents, they did things, making provision for the future. They did things with the expectation and the hope and belief that it would help their children and perhaps their children's children. But the question is now, to what extent we have that noble endeavor? Are we having people for whom their willingness to forego the today's enjoyment for the expectation of tomorrow's sort of fulfillment, are they being respected, rewarded, and is that being encouraged? Not that we should not spend time and enjoy the fruits of our labor, but if you want that sweet, Jula mango, are you going to chop down the tree to get it because that's the only how you can? Or are you willing to allow somebody else? Well, that's the question. Now, for me, I like the Cayman sugar mango, and I say it that way because that's my preference, but I've yet to taste the starch, and I will at some point. Maybe I just have to take a trip to do so. 949-8037, 949-6990. You can WhatsApp call 925-32621 if you want to share your thoughts with us. And appreciate that as we are now, what will it be like then? As things were once, can they again be? And as we appreciate that many times, no matter how we acknowledge that we cannot rewind the hands of time, we cannot unring the bell, we cannot unknow, we cannot undo. Many of us believe for some reason that it doesn't apply to us, so if we do this thing, it doesn't matter, we can undo it. Well, can we? I don't know. The other thing I wanted to share, and I appreciate the three young individuals for whom they are anxiously, with great excitement, as they should. They're looking forward to being able to venture off to university come next year, believing that their scholarships would be obtained because not only of their grades and their community and sort of civic engagement, but that contribution that they want to make to Cayman when they return. And the interesting thing, as one of the three shared, was that only because of their small circle, that small circle of friends have the same sort of mindset, the wider sort of student body increasingly has been sort of, according to this one of the three students, being encouraged, not to pursue tertiary education, whether that is as formal education in some university or college, or whether that is in some other certification or training. And when I asked the three, there was a bit of reticence as to why. And then I went back to one of the parents of the three, and it seemed like that sort of mindset is being promoted amongst others. Now, they did not say I did not persist, but I wonder from other conversations, is that discouragement coming from us as the coach or parent or teacher or some others? Or is that because of the former perception of our young people that there's no point in them spending that amount of time and money getting an education, a formal education, even a professional qualification, and the probability of employment in Cayman is an increase. In fact, it probably would serve as a disservice. And then the future for these young people in Cayman, not just the ability to own property, but to find employment, to develop an entrepreneurial pursuit. Now, I leave that with us to ask, if that is happening to our young people, whether it's an unfounded perception or whether it's their view that is shared amongst them, what are we as the adults in their lives, their parents, their teachers, their sort of religious guides, their coaches, their mentors, their whatever, what are we doing to give them a level of hope and a positivity? Ask yourselves, at that age, where were we? For me, it was told, at least I think I remember the teacher that said it. I remember where it was in high school, and I asked myself at that point, why is that? We grew up in a space in Cayman where it seemed like there were a number of jobs that were never available to Caymanians. You couldn't be governor, commissioner of police, the attorney general, the Auditor General, and seemingly there was an expectation that you would rise in the private sector only to top the organization and then no further. You would never be the top person in the organization, the senior partner and other things. So we've seen Mr. Dan Scott and others at what is now EY show and demonstrate, and they continue that level of commitment to ensure that within the accounting profession, many young Caymanians not only have been qualified, they rose to senior partnership and seemingly not just be rewarded with a wonderful career and their contributions, but hopefully with some financial success as well. Perhaps the legal profession and others have not had that same level of success that accrues to Caymanians. But what about banking and financial services generally? So if that is the case, what is it? Now we've seen within, the Cayman space, we have Caymanians who have become commissioners of police. Mr. Kurt Walter, another fine example. And whether that perception was just one that unfortunately was sort of misguided and misunderstood and misapplied and never was, or whether it was deliberate. We've come somewhere. But unless and until there are people in our country, as a 12-year-old or a 21-year-old, believing that through hard work and education, a strong sense of a work ethic and a discipline and respect and responsibility, you can rise to the top of the bank, if that's where you're working, or other financial institution, that you are rewarded because it's merited. Well, let's get there, and let's give our young people that hope that they deserve. And anybody that's saying anything that is lip service, hold them to account. And anybody in a position of authority, whether they don a uniform, stand in front of a class, or preach from a pulpit or a political podium, accountability and respect and responsibility. They say humility, before honor. Well, we're reminded that in a democracy, you get the government you deserve. Let us deserve the very best because we give the very best of each individual effort and endeavor. Have a fantastic rest of today. Mr. Art is on in the morning. Please join him. Always a wonderful host. Again, thanks to him, Kathy and Ray, for hosting while I was away. Somewhat play, but mostly it was getting some things done, right? So join him tomorrow. Come back for Talk Today if you're so inclined. The invitation is there. Let's be a part of this place, man. Let's make it better, make it safer, healthier, more productive and positive and profitable. Not just financially, but economically. Not just so, but socially. Let's do it together. And let's recognize that we will not accept anything other than the very best because we give the very best of ourselves. God bless.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital, peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Grab a card and win. It's a 30K Jolly grocery giveaway at Foster's. This Christmas, they're spreading some holly jolly cheer by filling one lucky shopper's card with $10,000 worth of groceries. Just purchase any 2 specially marked products to enter. Learn more at fosters.ky/jolly.